Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Empathic Chronicles. I'm your host, Tiffany Elise, and today I have a very, very special guest with me. She's been my friend since middle school, and her journey through life has been, to me, super extraordinary. I admire her a lot for just who she is, and I love her so much. Amanda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to spend time with my homie.
Yes, thank you so much. So, all right, now I just want to dive in. So can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Amanda and I am 39. I just recently had a birthday, which was, we're getting close to 40. So, inching closer. I have an 18-year-old son who's about to graduate. Oh my God. But yeah, I work in IT at a hospital and that's pretty much it. I don't know what.
And you like podcasts, right?
I do. Oh my gosh, I'm so into podcasts. I'm kind of partial to anything crime, true crime related.
Okay. I get it.
Yes, so into that. But I'm also a fan of Empathic Chronicles. Just saying, gotta support my girl. But yeah,
that's awesome. And being a mom and being independent and just raising your son the way that you have, it's just amazing just to see how amazing of a mother that you are.
Thank you.
And it's just crazy that the kids have grown up as fast as they have.
I know, girl.
As they have, Our kids are friends and they, it's like whenever they see each other, they just pick up where they left off.
Exactly. I love it. That's the sign of a good friendship, I feel.
Me too. Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. As I said, I think you're amazing and you're just super, super strong. In this world, as we know, there are a few women like you, or at least that can do it, the way that you do. And I think everyone's uniqueness is kind of like their superpower. You know what I mean? But, I want to get real, and just because this is part of Empathic Chronicles is bringing in stories from people's lives and showing how it's basically just changed them for good, and the path that it's helped them be stronger, even going through those hard times. So I would like to know, I know the loss of your dad was incredibly tough for your entire family. Your world must have felt like it was crumbling, before you. Can you tell us about, that experience and how it changed you both personally and as a mom?
Yes. So in 2020, in prime time of COVID, my dad passed away in that July. So prior to that, he had been diagnosed with cancer, and it kind of just came as a shock to us because, he was relatively healthy and he's been going and doing all of his treatment and stuff like that. And he was given a 2 to 5 year window of, when he could potentially pass away from it. And he said, I'm going to choose the 5-year plan. He was really, really focused on that. And unfortunately, he passed away before it was a full 2 years. But I was very close with my dad. He was just a great person. And
he was awesome.
Yeah.
I just always had fun. And he was always doing something around the house.
Oh, yeah. He's a Mr. Fix-It. And all of my friends, I jokingly say that people kept me around so they could be around my dad. They love being around him. And both my parents. But my dad is the kind of person that you show up and he's just, what can I get you? Just very, very hospitable and fun. And, he was my dance partner at weddings and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of my personality is from my dad. He's kind of not afraid to be a goofball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyways, he had gotten sick and went into the hospital, and we thought it was just pneumonia. And unfortunately, it just progressed so quickly. Within a week, he had passed away, and we were not, I don't think we were fully prepared. We knew that this was going to happen at some point. But it just, I don't think you could, it happened so fast, you know, and I'm grateful that we did get that time with him, but it was during COVID. So there was a lot of like lockdowns. You couldn't visit family. My mom, thank God, was able to be with him and be by his side, and we were able to bring him home, and we did hospice at home, so he was able to pass peacefully in his house. So that was very important to us. But I'll tell you, it's been the first year after he had passed, it was very difficult because sports was like the way that we really bonded and connected. And I almost didn't even want to watch football. It just felt very different. It felt odd because he wasn't there, and I didn't get to, you know, talk football with him and talk sports, and it made me not want to really watch it. But during this process, you know, being a mom and having to be strong for my son, because with Malachi, they were like best friends, you know. He was very, very close to my dad. So
I always remember like him always being with your dad every time we saw each other.
Yep. They were truly like just so close, so close. So that was definitely a tough loss, obviously, for our family, but especially for Malachi. That was the first time he's truly experienced anybody close to him dying. So it was a lot. But I will tell you, like, going through this, you have to process your emotions, and you always feel like you're gonna know. I don't know. There's no like right way, I guess, but some days you have really hard days, and then other days it just feels like, okay, is this getting more normal, that kind of thing. But being there for Malachi and being able to have those conversations, and, you know, I feel like it brought our family closer together. It made us appreciate life, you know, and to not take those moments for granted, because if it was in my book, I'm thinking my dad is living forever, you know, until his 90s and stuff like that. And unfortunately that wasn't the case. But I think that the time that we did have with him, it was a good life, you know. It was a good life. He was a great dad and great grandfather.
He was like a veteran post office.
Oh yeah, my whole family's been in the post. I feel like it's a family of postal workers. Yes,
we should have included that in the bio.
I know, right? No, a family of postal workers. My dad, you know, worked his way up. My parents met at the post office, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, gosh. So it's definitely been, you know, we have a lot of people in the post office, but he had many great years there too. And you know,
awesome.
And if I could just say a quick little story, after he passed away, we had this guy Kevin that worked with my parents, but he was a carrier in the post office, and my dad was his boss. And I guess he wrote a letter to my mom, and he basically was saying that his son back in the day got really sick, and he had to take some time off, and my dad, you know, made sure that that he got paid during that time off, and he just like went above and beyond to help him. And because my dad knows family is important, and he was so intentional about that. So anything he needed, it was just like, we got it, you know, and that's what he remembered about him. So, you know, he knows that family was important, and even his post office family, he extended that same love, you know. So that made us happy to hear, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I just know, you know, for you to have to just, like I said, like you probably felt, you know, how it could feel crumbling, but then on the other end of the spectrum, like, I mean, you're an amazing mom. You're
Thanks, girl.
Successful in your career. And I just think that there's so much to be said. One of the things that, and this is just kind of like off the record, you know, with my last few episodes where I've talked about my faith and how my son and I were baptized, and how our, you know, family's a little unique, you know, only 2 out of the 4 go. I remember you always being very into church and just, you know, your faith super strong. And I mean, because there were times that we would talk and you would give me strength. And, you know, how did losing your dad change your faith, if at all?
That's a great question. I would definitely say that it's, I feel like not that it's changed my journey, because I definitely grew up in the church and was very much, an every Sunday kind of churchgoer from when I was younger. I was raised in the church. And I guess I was a little bit, I feel like people can go through this if they have loss, but it's like, of course you can ask why my dad, or I can see him, doing all these treatments, but yet he's still not getting better, or takes a step forward just to take 3 steps back, with everything and getting bad news. And, my dad's cancer was lung cancer, but that was a secondary source. The primary source was unknown, and that's like very, very rare. So he was a rare case. Like I think they say that 5% of people that get cancer is a cancer of unknown primary source. So he was just kind of tired of being unique in that way. And I think it shook my faith a bit, because I was like, here's my dad who is doing all the right things. He's taking all the steps to get treated. He's, and he would even, quote scripture and, to encourage himself and just get through those tough times. So I was just like, why is this happening to him? Why? But I learned, and I'm still learning. It's a journey, but we're not, unique in this. Everybody goes through things. People are, people get sick, and it happens, and this just happens to be our story. So, but it was rough. It was rough in the beginning, girl. Imagine. It was, and it's still like a daily thing, but yeah. I definitely feel like it shook my faith a bit with that.
And I appreciate you being vulnerable. I mean, your story is so inspiring. And to me, I've always thought extremely highly of you, but just seeing you go through this and who you are today, it makes me so proud.
Thank you, girl.
I am just,
I love you.
Yes, I love you too. These are wise words from Amanda herself. You know what I'm saying? But all right. So, with all of this and raising now like an adult, oh my God,
I know.
I can't believe, like, what are your proudest moments, and yeah.
Ooh. I feel like for me, so I had Malachi young. I had him at 20, a few months before my 21st birthday. And wow. I was in college. I was at FIU at the time, and I had to take a little bit of a sabbatical. I took some time off of school, and I had to, I was a full-time mom, and I had to start working and, being able to support my child. So I had to take some time off of school, and I kind of felt like, man, I should have done this better for Malachi. I should have finished school, that kind of thing, because it took me a little bit of time. I wasn't, there was no like end in sight as far as I was concerned, because I felt like, how am I going to be able to do this and, go to school and also be a full-time mom and full-time worker. So, I had it in my mind that I was going to go back to school eventually, and that eventual just kind of kept getting pushed. And my parents ended up moving. And when that happened, I was like, oh, forget it. Graduation's not happening. But I put a goal in mind, and I said, I'm going to graduate by the time I'm 30. So I put that goal in place, and I graduated before my 30th birthday.
Yes.
Only by like 9 days before, but I still made the cut.
We did it.
Yes. Okay? Before I turned 30, I'm graduated. I did it. Doesn't matter that it was less than 2 weeks. But so that's probably one of my proudest moments. And in hindsight, I kind of feel like this was how it should have been the whole time, because I was able to show Malachi, because he was able to attend my graduation. And I was able to show him, you don't give up on your dreams. Like, even if it's tough, and I had to go back and take some extra classes along the way to get where I needed to be, but I graduated, I did it. And he was able to witness that. So I feel like it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yes.
So yeah, graduating, and then the year after that, I had a goal that I'm gonna own a home, and the next year I bought my house, and yeah. So those are probably, you know, I got to do it all with Malachi, you know, by my side, and you know, show him that you can do things. You know, you just got to put the effort in, put the work, but you'll get there. It might take time.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. We're not in a rush, you know?
Yeah. And I think that is so complimentary to just the way that you are as a woman, you know, strong, independent. And I think that's what it was so coincidental that, you know, I was going back to school to get my degree, and I'm like, you know what, like if Amanda can do it, and she was a single mom, you know, with her raising her child, you know, I'm married and I'll be fine. So like, you know, it was super inspirational for me. And then,
girl, now I got to catch up to you.
Well, and now, you know, first of all, no, but like you and I, we work together, and I have just always just who you are as a person, let alone your work ethic. When you set your mind to something, you bought your home way before we bought our first home, and that is just incredible. So very,
Thanks,
very
girl.
proud of you. Very,
Thank
very
you.
proud of you.
Thank you.
So, all right. Now, what would you say to someone in a similar situation like you who has experienced a loss and is struggling to find themselves through this situation, through this journey? What do you think has been, you know, something that could help someone else?
First of all, I would say that there's no timeline of, you know, when you should be over things, or also like what's too soon, what's, you know, not soon enough, you know, that kind of thing. I really feel like we have it in our minds that grief is supposed to look a certain way. It's supposed to last a certain amount of time. And really it's different for everybody. So for me, I would just say just to give yourself grace, and you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. So I would say that's number one. Number two, I would say is like talk to someone about it. I don't think bottling emotions up inside is a good thing. So if you don't want to talk to someone, maybe journal, something like that, to where you can get it out, release it. But I remember after my dad passed, I just wanted to feel him around, like, is he okay? Like that kind of thing. And I remember I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to talk out loud to him. I feel really stupid doing this because, yeah, but I mean, it feels weird, right?
No,
You're like, I'm just talking out loud to someone who's not maybe hearing me. But I did. I talked out loud, and I was like, Dad, I just really want you to show me you're okay, you know? And I've had one experience since he passed where I was just kind of desperate to know, are you okay? I felt like I didn't have that resolve after he had passed. So I asked him, I'm like, please just like show me a sign, show me a sign, show me a sign. And I never really felt anything. But one day I woke up and I went into Malachi's room and I saw pillows that were kind of piled up, and it almost looked like someone was making a fort or something. And I was like, what is this? That's odd. Malachi, did you do this? And he said, no, I didn't do that or whatever. So I walk out of the room and I see someone sitting on the top of my steps, and I look down and it's my dad, and he looks up at me and he's just smiling so big, and I'm like, and then I wake up for real, and I realize I just dreamt, you know, I felt like my dad showed me I'm okay. You know, like I felt so real that I felt like I saw him again, and I really needed that, and I just cried, you know, and that gave me such peace to feel like, all right, I'm good. If he's enjoying the afterlife, and you know, you don't have to come back and, you know, like cater to me. I want you to enjoy your life, but I needed that so bad. And even if it was just my dream and, you know, whatever, but I felt like that gave me the peace that I needed, you know? So my biggest thing is just talk about it, if you're talking out loud to that loved one, if you're, talking to a friend, to, just, I don't know, put yourself out there and bring your emotions to the table, and there's no judgment. So I feel like talking about it is a big thing, and not giving yourself a timeline.
That is awesome.
Thanks,
and
Rob.
I think it's super just telling to your journey and how you've been able to get through everything that you have, and now you're just like a badass. So it's like it's
trying to be like you, girl. Trying to be like you.
Please. All right. So this is, I mean, I wanted to do this when I first started this podcast. I wanted to do this interview sooner than we're doing it now. But I think for me, it was just because your story and just who you are and how much you've been through. And, we've been friends for so long that I feel like we saw each other again and it was like we didn't skip a beat.
Yep.
I mean, we went from middle school, like booty dancing, listening to that.
Thank God there was no smartphones.
Right? What was that? Like Uncle Al, Uncle Luke, somebody's uncle. And then like, yeah, I mean, those were like the best carefree. And I remember like part of growing up with you, and I remember the house that you grew up in.
Mm-hmm. Same. I remember having sleepovers at your house. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, one of the biggest things was you had the home that I would have loved to grow up in. Mom and dad married in a home, you're together, and struggling with, everything that I've struggled with. It's like, that was one of the things I always admired, and the love between your mom and your dad. And your mom is amazing. And I just remember always like they just meshed well. Like, whenever you see
they
them,
had their moments though. They had their moments.
How many years were they?
Oh my God. So I was gonna just tell you, my parents were married, but they got divorced when I was 3 years old.
Really?
And then they remarried each other when I was in 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
So they did have a little bit of a separation.
Okay.
But they came back together, and I'm amazing. I'm grateful for that, because, it came back full circle. And to see my parents, again, like I said, of course, I'm sure every relationship, has their ups and downs. But for the most part, even when you see them, like my parents, if there's a wedding and they're dancing, there's always going to be, my dad's pulling my mom out for a slow dance.
Aww.
And it's just so sweet, when you saw them dancing like that, it's super adorable.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm grateful that I did have the home that I feel like people enjoyed coming to, and my friends, family. We used to be the house that hosted all the Thanksgivings and stuff like that, so I loved that, and I'm hoping that I can take that still with me, and I can be that person. I hope I'm doing that already, where my friends feel like they can also be safe with me, so because that's really the goal.
Totally. I agree 100%. And it's funny, we were talking a little earlier today over dinner, and I was thinking, it's so true. The older that we get, the smaller our circle gets.
Yep.
And I think it just has a lot to do with going through different phases of life and truly realizing, like, who are your people?
Yep, 100%.
And it's like, with everything going on today, with the way society is, and, knowing what it's like to lose a loved one and raising a child in today's society. I mean, it's a challenge. And just the fact that you shared your story today, and you are so open and vulnerable, and yet still so humble in that you're persevering, you're still going after your goals and the things that you want. Girl, you better be proud of that.
Thanks. I like I say to everybody, one day at a time. It's one day at a time. You just deal with it as the day goes, and tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am so thankful for you sharing your wisdom, okay, and your story.
It's the gray hair, girl.
Girl. So I like to call us Silver Sisters because, like, I have platinum hair. She's got platinum, like a salt and pepper. We both got salt and pepper hair.
Yes.
But we decided to embrace our age.
That's right.
Okay.
And I feel like we're rocking it.
Listen, okay? Not everybody's grows in the way ours do.
Yes.
Ours actually growing everywhere, okay?
Yes.
There's no, like, Cruella patches.
Right.
101 Dalmatian style. We're not doing that, okay? So, no, but I'm so grateful for our friendship and the friendship that our boys have, and I'm grateful for having you on the show.
Thank you for having
So,
me.
yes, and thank you. And hopefully this is just one of many topics that we can talk about in the future. But thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Now, as always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please visit our Instagram, Empathic Chronicles, and like and follow. Also, get caught up on the previous episodes and share it with your friends. So until next time, take care. And if there's anything that you've taken away from today's episode, cherish your loved ones.
Yes.
And I love you.
Love you, girl.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.